All right, part two. That's really annoying because I think I had too much stuff in my trash. So even though I deleted them, they were still in there and took up too much room. Anyways, so it was pretty clean break. So here we go. So let me tell you about this thing that I watched. I don't know, probably like 10, 12 years ago, and it was this factory, and they were making like little plastic. They were putting little plastic pieces, melting them down, putting them through this machine, and creating like little widget things. And they took all the white pieces, and it was making white pieces. And then they were taking all the black pieces and making black pieces. And I kid you not, this is like real. They took one black piece, they're all like little balls, and then they melt the balls down to make something. They took one black one, they put it in with the white. It did not make gray. It did not make white. It made black, fully black piece. And my mind was blown. My mind was blown because this is what the Bible says. It says one sin taints it. And I could not believe that there was a practical, real example of that in real life that existed. I was like, are you serious? I thought it doesn't make gray. And I don't know if that's just a liquid situation. I don't know. But a lot of people like to think about this thing about the gray. And I'm telling you, there is there's a thing that exists in the world where I'm talking about one black little ball in with the white, and I'm talking about not one, they all started coming out black. It literally just like made me freeze. I was like, so you're telling me there's no. So this is what God is trying to tell us. And there's a reason why God is trying to tell us this. It's not for us to be just like super freaked out and never think that we have the upper hand. But the thing is, most people are galled by it. They don't like the idea of sin being this thing that you should focus on. And they don't like the idea that one sin can taint the entire bunch. You do one thing wrong, then that's it. And you're not. But, when it comes to plastic pieces, it's true. How much more when it comes to the God of the universe who's made everything in perfection and holiness, and you've got this other phenomenon, this anti-matter that gets, mixed in. And I don't know if we want to talk a little bit about how that even happens, how it could even exist. How does evil even exist? How does anti-anything exist? And I think you would really have to get very, very, very deep. You'd have to get very deep, but just know that freedom is freedom. And clearly, at one point, someone decided to go a different route in heaven when everything was perfect. And someone was like, well, is this the only perfection that there is? It can't get more perfect than that. There's really nothing else that we can do. Which is funny because this is a theme that used to be explored a lot in movies. I think it's honestly Gnostic or something, but it used to be everywhere, where it would just be like some perfect society, perfect world, perfect thing. I don't know why that terrible movie is coming to my brain. What is it, Pleasantville or whatever? I didn't even watch that movie, but I'm still like scarred by it somehow. Because I think we watched clips in college or something. But this idea of a black and white world, and then it literally has the audacity to have an apple on a tree that someone plucks or whatever, and it's color. This idea that that perfection is black and white, and this used to be pushed a lot, even if it wasn't that the black and white as a symbol for that. If it was just perfection was a symbol for that, and then somebody there is just a little too. It's just like looking around like this, like they can't revel in the perfection. It's too boring. It's too blah. It's too whatever. It needs spice. You know what I'm saying? So someone decided it needed some spice. And which we all agree with while we're watching the movie. And then when we want to complain about God and how everything is bad, then we don't like spice anymore. Then we want to accuse him for how could you let so much spice in the world? So, but anyway, basically, even if you don't understand where evil comes from at its root, which is like where I'm taking it, but I'm saying like clearly things were perfect, and someone was allowed to question that perfection, and it got to the point where there was a mutiny. Was this before mankind? Not during, but I tend to think in the space that I'm in now in my brain that we were the cause of the mutiny. But so that happened, and there was a chief leader of the mutiny, and who we now know as Satan. But had a high rank in heaven. Maybe, I don't know. We'll probably find out more about that when we get there or whatever. There's a little tidbit about it in the Bible where God feels like talking about it. A couple places. Some places where it's implied, it may or may not apply. And yeah, so you see this same entity now pose that same question to God's newest creation. First it was the angels, now it's humankind. Now it's so what's this thing about this tree, and why is he not letting you eat of the tree, and what's going on? And so they living in their perfect state, they don't know what it is to not be in their perfect state, are given another option. Now, God gave them the option, and they were good on it for who knows how long. They were like, meh. He's like, here's this other tree. You can not do what I say. Here's this tree over here. Don't eat of it. It's here though. But, it's here for you. And they were like, okay, well, we probably won't touch it. And then here comes this other guy who's got lies now. He's got lies. He's got manipulation. He's got, deception. He's got exaggeration. He's got all of these tools that God doesn't rely on, let's say. We won't say that God can't, but I'm kind of on the side of him not being able to do certain things. The Bible does say that he's not going to lie. He's not a man that he should lie. He can't violate himself. There's things that he can't do. It's like he can't not be awesome, okay? Sorry. Can't be ugly. He can't do it. So there's some things that God can't do, right? So of those things that he can't do, the devil is opening this idea of just making up stuff. I can make up stuff. I don't know if anybody's seen that movie about the invention of lying or whatever. I haven't seen it, but I got the gist. I was like, why would I watch 2 hours of this stupid concept? Which is basically, from the trailer, you could see that, it's just treating goodness as this, or just not knowing, not having the capacity to lie as this silly, sort of infantile way of being. And then somebody can just come around and lie and just get all the stuff. It's just like, are you a genius for exploring this? So yeah, they were victims of someone who invented lying and just flat out told them some nonsense. And then through that, they made a choice that caused them to be separated from God, which I'm going to put on the table for right now and get to it later because I want to follow my outline. I'm trying not to make this thing as long as my last one. So, so the Bible talks a lot about how we got into this state of imperfection and why it is virtually impossible to go back to this state of perfection. And the reason why I spend so much time on that is not because it is depression porn. It's so that without this understanding, the gospel, which means the good news, isn't any type of news. And you need to understand that it's good news so that you can receive it. And you can be like, give me that good news. I need it. If everything is fine and nothing, and there's no hell and nothing is evil, then you will never accept the offer that God is giving to every person to be restored to your not only your original state of perfection, but to be a better version. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute why that's a better version. This is a better version. So, I mean, aside from the fact that you're now in a place where you can choose perfection, you're not just God created you, you're perfect, we're having perfect life, blah, blah, blah. Satan inadvertently has created a way to allow us to choose perfection. And of those who choose perfection, get to be perfect with God. Simple, easy as pie. It's so simple. It's simple. It's like, that's it. I literally just told you the whole thing. Okay? So, what is the good news? Jesus. Jesus is the vehicle by which we are able to choose perfection. So when Jesus, who is prophesied all throughout the Old Testament, finally did arrive on the scene, he opened this whole thing to the entire world. It became not just about God's people, which is a whole other conversation because I really want to get to, the metaphysicals of this. So once Jesus came, who is God in the flesh, because if he's not God in the flesh, then he's just a human sacrifice. That makes no sense. If he's a God sacrifice, and he's got God blood, then he can cover the entire world forever, whoever wants it, all the time, no matter what you did, because it's God blood. It's never going to run out. It's superior to all blood. It's the blood of God, and he is going to now atone for your sins. Why does it have to be blood? Again, I don't know. One of those ancient concepts, just like evil. It has something to do with atoning. It's something in heaven. You're going to ask God about it. But pretty much all religions that are going to give you any sort of spiritual power are utilizing blood. Why is God doing what pagan nations are doing? Okay, well, pagan nations got everything from God, okay? Because they're all derived from either Satan himself or other fallen beings that followed him, because a third of the angels left with him. And then there were other things that happened after that. Angels mating with humans, all the stuff that happened before the flood that we have evidence of, but we couldn't even conceive of this world because it's gone. Okay. That was the Cliff Notes, because I really want you to understand what my main goal is with this channel, and what I find the most important as far as like understanding this whole thing, because we were talking about all of these religions and why they exist, and yeah, they're all trying to explain the world. And I don't consider this a religion. The more and more I talk about it, just like really hard, it's just the truth. And it just seems like all the other religions are out there to mask. It's like, yeah, we have a story too. So do we. So do we. So do we. And make it seem like that's just that's all it is. But it's like, no, this is the truth. This is the truth. And it is, I don't know, I think it's everything. The reason why I don't have to like really go into specifics about like, here's all of the whatevers is because it is in our life. Like, we're going to be able to see things that happen in the next coming whatevers that continue to support what I'm telling you. So all you have to do is look at life. You know, you can test this out on your life. You can experiment and test these theories out and see if they're correct. A lot of other stuff you have to wait to die to see if it's true or not. This is something you can test out while you're living. Okay. So, but I'm assuming that we all know the gospel. I just said it, you know, that Jesus came down, sacrificed himself for humankind. And we hear this a lot. Even if you're not a Christian, you probably heard the gospel message. You probably thought it was super weird, right? Part of the reason is because, like I mentioned before, we're not talking about how evil entered the world and how it has degraded the perfection, and it is slowly dying. Everything's slowly dying. When Adam sinned, he died. And you think, well, he didn't die right away. Okay, well, that's because you live in an imperfect world and you think his 930 some years or however many he had is a pretty good run. No, it's not, because perfection is forever. We are created to live forever. And we are, if you haven't noticed, we are not living forever. So Adam went from what was supposed to be a billion years plus to 900. That is a degradation. That is a demotion. He died. Okay. I mean, you have to just take into account that when God kills something that's living, or when he separates himself, let's say he cuts himself off from the source of the thing that was living, it's still going to take a while for it to completely stop, because God knows how to create stuff. So just like the stuff that was being made 100 years ago is probably still up and kicking. Stuff made, from God knows where that gets shipped over here lasts a fraction of that time. God is the head engineer guy, and the stuff starts breaking down faster and faster the further out it gets. I don't know if you noticed, but we are breaking down in all types of ways, not just physical. Now, he did limit man's years after a certain point to 120 years because it was just getting over the top. Can't wait to find out what that looked like. But yeah, so not all of us are living 120 years. And yeah, you can say, oh, well, the lifespans are getting higher again. I think that technology is doing a lot to falsify those stats and make it look like things are happening that aren't. So, but anyway, what technology is doing is trying to make up for our brains, and our morality and everything else is just causing us to be dead men walking anyways. So anyway, what is the point? So what I would like for people to understand, aside from the gospel message, and yes, the gospel message in and of itself is, I'm not improving upon it, but I just find the metaphysical understanding of this to be very, very fascinating. It's not some occult hidden wisdom. It's very much on the surface. If you're looking at it, if you're just zooming all the way out and looking at this thing in a big picture way. So what is the metaphysical reason for any of it? Why? What is the reason for the gospel? Why? What does this have to do with the meaning of life? And how can you sort of put this narrow religious thing into this huge meaning of life box? It seems so narrow, right? It seems so pigeonholed. Look at all of this planet, space, this and that. How can this little thing about this guy from Nazareth possibly encapsulate it all? Well, aside from the fact that God is smarter than you, and he already said that narrow is the way that leads to life, and few find it. The reason why few find it is because it is so narrow, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, which is everything else. This is God telling you, Jesus telling you that a lot of people ain't going to make it, and he's already come to grips with that. Because the broad road is going to be full of people. If you find the narrow way, he already said it. So, and then he also says that he is the way and the truth and the life. And no one gets to the Father except through him. Well, what kind of claim is that? What about these people over here? What about, which again is just to say, how is this one dude in this one part of the world, how is this going to relate to literally everything? And aside from this being the genius of God, because everybody knows who Jesus is, everybody's heard the name at least. How is that even possible? How should that even be possible? This should be a very localized thing, right? Everybody knows who Jesus is and has known for thousands of years now, just by people walking and talking and having love and sharing love, and people not denying their faith in the midst of immense persecution at certain points in time. All of these little one by one miracles has caused this to dominate. And it's not just head knowledge. These people had revelations. These people were swept away, blown away by God once he was shown to them. And I said this before about the Matrix and how the Matrix is just this perfect analogy, and it works so well because of the way that it mimics the way that it works. It's like you can't just go to a meeting, and I mean you could, but you're going to end up probably in a cult. But it's like you don't just go to a meeting and you accept this knowledge. You don't just get swept away in a movement that we all decide to agree on. It's like you have to take a pill. You've got a red pill and a blue pill, and there's nothing really different between the two except for their color. Someone tells you which one does what, and you decide based on that information which one you're going to take. And then you decide to take the one that's going to change your life. And then, oh my gosh, it does. How can it do that if it wasn't really what it said it was? How can it do that? They're the same, except for one's a different color. So then your life changes. But guess what? You can't even, to tell other people that are not there, it don't even look like, you can't tell, you can go on and on and on about this different world. Then I went and then I was in a pod, and this isn't really the world. It's like, you can say that and people are just going to go, okay. They have to do it themselves. They have to do the same thing themselves. It's just a single choice that someone brings them. It's not flashy. It's not cool. It's not compelling in any way. Their choice alone is what's going to cause that whatever happens to happen. So it's their will, it's their intention, and it's just a great, perfect picture. It just there's nothing else like that. So, and there's a lot of things. I mean, a lot of people say that it's Gnostic or whatever, or I don't know. That's not the right one. Which is the philosophy that they say it is? Is it Gnostic? I don't know. But every philosophy has something in common with the truth. That's the point. That's why people flock to it for as long as they do before they're like, you know what? I don't think this is going anywhere, because they got to have some truth in it. So, anyway, how's it possible? Okay, let's look at the whole thing. Okay, creation. Are we created by aliens? By who? Like, whatever is it? Or did we evolve? Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but you could take evolution all the way off the table. They're really like, they know it's not right and they're just continuing to do it. They knew it wasn't right when they discovered DNA and all the stuff that they discovered after that fool wrote that book. Okay. But it's doing a job. So let's just let it keep doing a job as much as it can. If you think that's ridiculous, they're literally out here telling you that men and women are concepts. And they are actually convincing people. This stuff isn't hard, guys. It's not hard to just go out and just say lies. And, you're bowing down to the experts of science and stuff. And this is what happens. They're doing the same thing that y'all complained that religion was doing. So, because it's not about the institution, it's about us being imperfect human beings and what all spawns from that. So, anyways, let's take evolution off the table because it's stupid. Everything is nothing is evolving. Everything is going to crap. So, it's clearly started in a superior place and is slowly going from what is it? It's going from order to chaos. Entropy. These are laws of thermodynamics, or laws of. Is that right? I think it is laws of thermodynamics. So evolution would be violating that, first of all, so that doesn't make any sense. So let's just agree that that there's a God who is just a massive, huge intelligence, huge intelligence, and he creates human beings after himself. He's patterned human beings after himself. He's patterned this world after himself. That's why there is any type of order. We can, it's not like snow one day, summer the next day, 4 days of night. There's order here. There's things that we can figure out, things that we take for granted that we just like, oh, well, we figured it out. I mean, it could be not like this. Okay. So among all of the other choices, all the other things that we are not, the billions of other things that this could be, the amount of arms and eyes and ears or none that we could have had, the way that God has decided to show himself instead of showing up every day and giving us our daily announcement, and this is what we're going to do today. All of the things that are not, that we also take for granted, and we don't realize that everything here is a choice that he made, and it's all very fascinating. Whatever, I won't get onto that. So God creates man. Simple enough. We feel created. We're always talking about how we're wired to do this and that. We can't even get it out of our language as much as we try. We're made to do this, we're made to do that. We feel that. It feels very much like we are created, and we're after purpose. We're after certain things that reflect, particularly the God of the Bible. A couple of other gods, I'm sure, has tried to mimic this. But the God of the Bible, and I was just thinking the other day, I was like, listen, you don't want to have a baby, you have one anyway. Who does that sound like? You can't control these babies. You want to do the thing that makes the babies and just leave it at that. You just want to do that. No, you're going to have a baby. And you're just forced to do it. Which one's that? That's the one in the Big Bang book. Clearly. That's his thing all day. Like, you don't get to choose. I'm going to work through you. You're welcome. That's him. This world smacks of this one. Okay. So he creates man. Who knows how long that's in a perfect unproblematic state. Eventually, it gets messed up. Man sins. Okay? Now, God has an option. He could delete man and start over with man 2.0, which a lot of people probably wonder why he hasn't done that, or why it doesn't say that he did that. But it is the genius of God, and I'm going to show you. Probably what we would do. But instead of him destroying man, he allows man to go on in its sinful state with a plan to redeem mankind. Okay? Why? Why is that the plan? Does it make sense to anybody? Do people think, oh, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would it be like that? Why would he let, everybody so galled by the evil in the world, right? So just like, why would you let man go on and do all this stuff and war, famine, plague, blah, blah, blah. And then, why would he redeem him thousands of years later, with Jesus? And what does Jesus have to do? What does him on the cross have to do with the redemption of man, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so like I explained before, the coming along of Jesus allows humankind to decide whether they want to return to their state, rather than God making them and deciding for them. Okay? So while you don't get to decide whether you exist or not, and a lot of people are just stuck on that, they're just traumatized by that alone. No one consulted me. Okay? So you don't get to decide you exist. So you didn't have any will in that. But you do get to decide whether you want to return to God or not. How's that? Is that better? Most people are down here enjoying their existence, and they're not thinking about anything, obviously, because they don't want to. It just freaks them out. But this is not, it's bad. It's like, do you enjoy good stuff more than you enjoy bad stuff? It's like, let me get back to you on that. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. You trying to get to that deathbed confession? Okay. Whatever. But the point is, you get to choose, and you have to make a choice. You can't be both. The only place that both good and evil exist together is here. And that will never happen again after this period of time. Heaven's not like this. Heaven is all good. Can't no evil be there. Heaven is all bad, or hell is all bad, and can't no good be there. Okay? So you're not having no parties in hell. Parties are good. All you're doing there is starving, and you can't breathe. It's hot. You're miserable. All you can think about is yourself. You're encased and closed in with other people, and you don't even know that they're there, because you're just so consumed with your own suffering that you don't even notice other people that are there. Okay? So you're not having a party. There's no there's no fellowship, there's no laughter. All that stuff belongs to God. So that's why you need to make a choice what you like more. I'm sure you like both. I'm sure you like the decadent, degraded revelry, and you also like laughing, and you also like smiling, and you also like togetherness, but you're going to have to choose between the two. But that brings me to my point, because this experience is unique. Okay? Us being able to both have good in us and have evil in us. Okay? Even God himself is not having this experience. He is good. He cannot be bad. Even Jesus, being a man, came down. Yes, he experienced what it was like to be human. He experienced, hunger and thirst and sleep deprivation and all these things, which is in and of itself really amazing, a whole other video. But he did not have a sin nature like we do. But we are a creation, again, unlike God, unlike the angels who, even the ones who sinned are, they experience good and evil, but not at the same time. They experienced good. As soon as they experienced evil, they was out of there. And they were in the presence of God. So we are not. We just are here. We don't even see God. Okay. So they existed in the presence of God. They chose evil in the full light of God. They chose evil. So they made their choice. We are in a place where we have both tasted good and evil. Has it destroyed us? Sort of. That's why God didn't kill Adam. But he is technically dead. He simply cut himself off from Adam. So in cutting himself off from Adam, he's able to create something new. And that's the other thing I wanted to say really quick is that God doesn't really destroy anything. He can recreate, it's if you look at the metaphors of him in the Bible, it's potter and clay. Okay, the potter and the clay doesn't get destroyed. It will get made into something else, but it's going back into the bowl. Nothing gets destroyed. So God isn't into that, doing that. But he will remake, recreate, redeem. So that's why he didn't get rid of man, because he was defunct. That's a very, I don't know, it's kind of like a Nazi type approach to things. It's a very just cold, dictatory thing. And a lot of people like to give God that rap, but it's just like he's really just showing no signs of it. You just don't like the idea of him being in control or something. Like you just have to, it's not as bad as it looks. You're really just kind of imposing a lot of things on it. So, and then the other thing too is that Adam clearly had billions of people in him, which is another thing about God. God is about having a seed. He's about seeds. He's not really about finished products. Like I see a lot of people talking about like when they get with other people or they're trying to find a mate and stuff, and it's like I got to be fully functional. I got to like go to therapy and get all my stuff out and be this fully functional person before I meet this other fully functional person. I mean, assuming that they are going to do all the measures that you're doing, and if it's a guy, he's probably not. So, but that's not how God operates. That's not how anything really operates on the earth. This is just like a man-made imposed thing that we're trying to like put on top of stuff. Because honestly, everything that God gives is usually in seed form. It is potential. So a seed in and of itself has everything to be whatever it is. It has the potential to be a sequoia tree, but it's a seed. The acorn, that's God sees all of it, the entire state of it. So you think you're destroying one thing and you're destroying a forest. So if he destroyed one man, he would have destroyed all of us. That's number one. So he's not going to do that. Number two, he doesn't destroy anything anyways. And number three, and this is finally the point that I'm finally getting to. This is it, okay? This is why we're doing this thing. This is why we're doing this thing. Would you like to know why we're doing this thing? Why the way that we're doing it? Okay. Just like I explained to you that we are good and evil, and it's not destroying us, it's not pulling our atoms apart. The part of the reason why it's not pulling our atoms apart to be good and evil, to be both a creation of God and have this evil streak in us, is because we died. Adam died, and his death has enabled this contradiction to take place. Through this contradiction, we are having an experience that no other creature is having. Like I said, God can't do what we're doing. Angels can't do what we're doing. We are doing what God can't do, which sounds like, whoa. Well, I don't know. Most people don't really care about like talking about what God can't do, but like, if you're a believer, and that sounds weird because it's like, well, God wouldn't make himself, need syrup on pancakes. It's like everybody has these ideas of what God wouldn't do and and if it sounds like too vulnerable, it's like, well, that can't be God. God is totally fine with sharing. He's totally was fine with sharing within the context and the confines of what he has made. If it is lawful and orderly and doesn't contradict him at all, he's fine. Jesus is going to be exalted by the Father, by God, because it makes total and perfect sense and it is right and good. You've got the Son of God, you've got the physical human representation of God himself coming down, not just coming down as a man, preaching for a couple of years and bouncing, which would have been fine. I'd have been fine with that. He literally came and did the full thing. He came and he did the born thing. He was born. He's a baby, so now he's not technically an alien. So now we don't have to, just take the word of some angel, some alien, some full-blown guy. It's like, listen, my God came down and as a baby and was rocked and, was breastfed, okay? And he's talking about way more than what you're talking about. Like, I don't have to be impressed by any of this. God went through all of the steps. He didn't skip anything. Then he came and he died and he learned obedience, which is the other thing that my mind's constantly being blown about. So because Jesus is created or had a human form to live in and had this experience, he is now fully fit to be the human king guy of the humans. That's human. He is God, and then now he's God, and he actually did human things. So who else is going to do the job? He's the best candidate. He understands us on a level now. It's like God, the Father, had this experience as a human. He made himself a body. Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't want to get into Trinity arguments with you. But the point is, Jesus is a human, bona fide. And now God is going to give him all the authority to judge heaven and earth. It makes total sense. But what makes us so valuable is that we also have an experience that even Jesus himself hasn't had. So this thing is getting, if you've read the Gospels and it talks about Jesus talking about how he's in us and we're in him, and it gets real hippy dippy, and you're like, what are we talking about? Like, okay, I don't feel that, but okay, if you say that, if you say so, it's like, I want you to know that you're in me and I'm in you, and the love that, and it's like, yeah, like we're not just these like dumpy, imperfect things. It's like once this thing is over, the reason why we're going to be sons of God, the reason why we're going to be children of God, the ones who have chosen to go back, chosen to be back part of the perfection, is because we have gone through this gauntlet as human souls, because it does say that God created us before the foundation of the earth. Does that mean that we chose to be here? I don't think so, because that doesn't, like, to me, I don't get that. Maybe we might have been like super jazzed and excited about it or something, but I don't think it's just like we could have stayed up there and no, God made the choice. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But to me, like, it just makes sense in God's personality that, I think if anything, we were just super jazzed about the idea when we were there. And now we don't remember any of that. And we're just like, who would choose to do this? So, anyways, so it does say that. So we're having an experience, which, every New Age person would agree with you. But the experience that we're having is not just, we're going to learn to love. We are inhabiting both good and evil. And we're going to be able to, the ones of us who decide to go up to God, who recognize God while we're here, recognize his voice, recognize his face, recognize it's like, okay, that sounds like I remember that. This is resonating with me. Like, those who hear my voice, like, this is all in the language of the Bible. It's all, it's old, but it's not obsolete. Yeah, it's about shepherds, and yeah, it's about gardening, and we don't do none of that stuff no more. But this is God trying to use universal things that always are going to exist to explain a concept to you. This is the reason why Jesus can say, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son." It's not just something that you just have to just go with. We're valuable before He even dies, before He's even done the job, even though it does say that He was slain before the foundation of the world, because God already decided this is what He was going to do. Before He's even done a single thing, before any person has even accepted it, we are already valuable enough for God to send His Son. Why is that? Because He has now got a crop of people that can be redeemed. Yes, already marked for destruction, already evil, already tainted. But the good news about that is that they can be redeemed. And through this experience is now creating a unique product that cannot be recreated in any other way. Like these conditions are creating. So now we're going to go back to our perfect state, but we will have not experienced evil. Evil is a part of us. Evil is a part of us. We know what it's like. We know what it's like to be so depraved. And, if you decide to be a Christian, you'll really know, because you'll actually have laws that you're trying to follow. When you're just out in the world doing whatever and everything's good and everything's relative and some things are great, then yeah, you're doing great. Your report card's great. You're got a B+. You're a great student. Okay, when you start actually like putting standards on yourself, you see how powerless you are almost to actually do those. You're like, I can't do good. I cannot believe it. You can't believe that. You can't believe how bad it is. Everybody likes to make jokes about the intrusive thoughts. I mean, that's weird. This is something we live with and we have to laugh about now. We have to laugh about it while we're doing it because it's just like insane. That's insanity that we're dealing with. That's just one part of you just going, no, it's not. You're just like, what? Just saying the most inappropriate thing to you. It's like, how do you? That's what we're doing, and it would drive anyone else crazy. It would drive anyone else really. You can't be around God like this. Like, God can come down to you, and that's what the whole Old Testament stuff is about. It's like, listen, I'll come down to you, but I need sacrifices. I need this. I need this. I need this, because I will kill y'all if y'all don't come correct in the appropriate way. Like, somebody's gonna die, which happened a couple of times by accident. So Jesus coming down made it to where there's nothing on God's part that He has to do. God's part's already done. He sacrificed His life for yours, fulfilled the covenant. So His part's done. He can talk to you. He can go down, come up, whatever. It's all on you. It's all what you decide to do. But that's very the localized explanation. What's happening ultimately is that God is creating not only a creation that is unique, that knows good and evil firsthand. And this is what I just thought about, just like doing this, or writing this down, is that in the event that there's other planets and other creations and other beings and blah, 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 like, we are definitely the only ones like this, because it cost God His life. He's not going to do that more than once. Can He do that more than once? I don't think He can do it more than once. He's got one time. Only son. Only son is what He said. He didn't say He had 4. He's got only son, which is Him. So we are the highest cost group. And the reason why He paid so much for us is because what we bring to the table. What we bring to the table. And, I think we'll know more and more once we get here. Once we get there, I'm just using the logical like looking at it logically and saying, look what's going on here. I think that heaven is just going ape about this because it's as unique as what I'm describing, but like all of the ramifications, like we'll know all of that when we get there. But and honestly, like this seems petty, but I really just feel like this is the main reason. Because all of this stuff, this thing with the Satan and the tree and the this and the that and the angels rebelling and the war in heaven and a third of them, okay, that happened one time, and that can only happen one time. And it happens when someone asks the question, "Is God good? Is He really perfect?" Which you have to concede would have happened at some point. Did it take a billion years or trillion years? I don't know. So at some point, somebody's like, "Is there all this is?" Just like the whole Pleasantville movie. It's like, is it black and white? Is there not no colors? Right? I like that's just their metaphor. I think it's dumb. Because I mean, who's gonna be the hero of the story? Obviously, the person who disrupted the whole thing and made it terrible. So that's what it truly means to be Luciferian. You know, if you think that the world was in black and white until Lucifer came on the scene and shook it all up, congratulations, you're a Luciferian. You know, it's like, oh, premarital sex. Oh, now everything's in color. Okay, you're a Luciferian. Okay, but if you're somebody who knows that the way that God made things was the perfect way, and we didn't really need your extra experiment, okay, you're probably on God's team. And guess what? This here dichotomy nonsense situation that we're constantly having to talk about ad nauseum, once God completes this whole thing and, you know, does this for, people think this is going to go on for a long time. I really think he's wrapping it up. That's the signs are looking like he's wrapping it up. He's not going to do this for too long. And then, you know, a couple things have to happen after that. You know, white throne judgment, 1,000-year reign, all this stuff. Okay. Then it says at the end of Revelation, he says, "I'm making all things new. Behold, I'm making all things new." So all this stuff that as we know it is going to be, all this is going to be gone. We're not doing this forever, but we're going to live forever. And we're going to go to the next phase. Guess what? The next phase, however long that one lasts, somebody gets the idea, hey, is this really all there is? Is this, we can be like, yes, yeah, we tried some other stuff. Let me tell you what happened. So we're going to be able to be witnesses to God's supremacy from here on till however long he wants to keep creating after this. So this is a big, like it doesn't even fit in my thing. Okay. This is what we're living right now. And we're focused on that. God's like this. You can't see his hands, but they're way out. They're way out. Okay. This thing is so huge and large and long. And it's this gospel that is allowing it to be, it's like making a foundation. It's like when you make a foundation, that foundation is all the way in the ground, that tower is going to be reached to heights. So it's like this foundation, which I'm pretty sure Jesus says, you know, this is what happens when you start getting on the right track. You just start naturally saying stuff that Jesus says. You just naturally start saying stuff that's in the Bible because the Bible is true. So you stumble across something that's true, more true things come out of your mouth. And you're like, hold up, Jesus said that. Oh my gosh, I just quoted Jesus out of my own mouth without even knowing. When that stuff starts happening, that's when you know you are on the right track. So this little foundation here, this little, you know, guy in Nazareth, this little, podunk religion from this little place that started in, you know, Hebron or whatever. This is the foundation for it all. Why? Because why not? You got to start somewhere. And God is a genius. God is the ultimate author, and he knows how to just start something off. And he doesn't need a launch. He doesn't need the marketing and the publicity. He'll just start in the wilderness with one person. He knows how to do that. And he's done it like multiple times now for multiple reasons. So, yeah, this little thing right here is going to end up being the entire thing. The stone the builders rejected is going to become the cornerstone. That's what Jesus said. And yeah, so that's why we're doing this. And a lot of Christians don't know anything beyond what God has revealed to them, and that's fine. Jesus came down there, and they know it. They know that they know, and that's as far as it gets. But I understand that there's people who have questions who are like, yeah, but what is this though? What is this whole thing? I'm the same way. I just happen to be born Christian, and I had questions, but I always had nowhere to get the answers. And what I'm telling you is what God is doing beyond creating us and having us have an experience is it's creating a unique thing that can't exist anywhere else. Can't be an angel, can't be God. We are in and of ourselves something new, and we're very, very valuable to God. And it is our imperfection, our mistake, that is causing us to be the unique thing. He's not going to withstand the imperfection forever, but he's given it a way to exist for now. And then he's using the sacrifice of Jesus to cover that for now, so that it can still be lawful while also being imperfect, because he thinks of everything. And then once this thing is complete, he's going to take our essence. It's like, just think about it. We're all just souls. If he, at any point, if he wants to just wipe this whole thing, this whole simulation, and have us just all up in heaven, just in a huge thing, and be like, okay, y'all, what did we learn? He could do that. And then be like, okay, well, you chose me, you chose me. You guys are going to be rewarded for that. Great and small. That's what we're doing, but it's not just a one-sided thing for us. We're just enjoying our being created, and Gotch is up there just being stoic about it, because he's like, yes, I know I'm awesome. Thank you. You can stay with me. It's like, no, he cares about us. He's made something, and has become very valuable in multiple ways. So yeah, I could still go on about it. It ended up being just as long as it is, but it's a lot better. So, and unfortunately 2 parts. That's annoying. But anyways, yeah, I said what I need to say, and y'all be blessed, and happy anniversary to my attempt to reach other people with YouTube. And I may or may not see y'all in the clouds. Okay, bye.